The Korean War, also known as the Forgotten War, by Rachel Bolis. How it all began. The Korean War started in the 1950s around the time of the Soviet-American rivalry. The war was between North and South Korea. Korea divided between North and South around September 1945. Eventually, North Korea invaded South Korea on June 24, 1950. This started the Korean War. Now, although the war ended, the conflict never really did. The U.S. role played. The role that the United States played in the war was to be aid support for South Korea. China, however, joined North Korea in the war. This unleashed a massive Chinese ground attack against American forces. Barriers broken. Ever since the Korean War, the United States Army became the third largest army in the world. This breaks a physical barrier. This breaks a world record. Since China was now sending attacks, the U.S. Army grew bigger and stronger to be prepared for more attacks. More background information. Joseph Stalin was born on December 18, 1878. He died on March 5, 1953. He led the Soviet Union from the mid-1920s. Stalin viewed the Korean War positively. He explained, "It is clear that the United States of America is presently distracted from Europe in the Far East. Does it not give us an advantage in the global balance of power? It undoubtedly does." This shows that he was on North Korea's side, so whether or not they did want to fight, they had to because he gave the orders. Joseph Stalin had the ability to approve whether the war would happen or not. Since he took Kim Il-sung's side, this is how it began. Kim Il-sung was born on April 15, 1912, and died July 8, 1994. During the 1930s, Kim became a Korean freedom fighter, working against the Japanese and taking the same name Il-sung in honor of a famed guerrilla fighter. Kim eventually moved to the Soviet Union for special training, where he joined the country's Communist Party. After being gone for 2 decades, Kim returned to Korea in 1945, with the country divided from the Soviets to being allied with the United States. Kim, however, did not like the separation of Korea. In the summer of 1950, after planning and convincing his skeptical ally Joseph Stalin of his plan, Kim led an invasion into the south, looking to unify the country under northern control, thereby initiating the Korean War. While the end of the World War II brought peace to most Americans, it also created a state of tension between the Soviet Union and the United States. Fearing that the Soviets intend to conquer the entire peninsula from its position in the north, the United States quickly moved its own troops into the South Korea. Japanese troops surrendered to the Russians in the north and to the Americans in the south. To avoid a long-term decision and debate, the United States and the Soviet Union agreed to divide Korea temporarily along the 38th parallel. However, war broke out along the 38th parallel on June 25, 1950. On that day, North Korea troops coordinated an attack headed south. The United Nations Security Council responded to the attack by making a decision that condemned the invasion. This happened July 27, 1953. The Korean War was one of several military conflicts that occurred during the Cold War. So even if it wasn't a popular conflict, it is part of a very important event in history. Getting involved in the Korean War would help America to stop the spread of communism. This idea of stopping the spread of communism is known as the policy of containment. This foreign policy was established by the federal government after World War II. This would help America establish good relations with South Korea. This political and economic alliance would help America for years to come. Today, this relationship allows for South Korea to help us in a need of fighting, for example, in a war. However, there are downsides. Loss of soldiers in any war, casualties plays a huge factor in the war. The United States knows that entering this war will result in deaths of soldiers, so this will always be something they know when putting the soldiers into wars. It was also expensive for the United States. It costs a lot being involved in a foreign war, especially because it can cost a significant amount of money considering how many troops have to be flown to Korea, the amount of spending there needs to be on supplies for these soldiers. In conclusion, due to all the events that happened, the United States Army became the third largest army in the world. This is because they've realized that they will always need to be prepared for something that can happen without warning, just like North Korea tried to secretly attack South Korea. Without the Korean War, the United States may not be as advanced army-wise as it is today. So, although our conflict with North Korea wasn't fun, they encouraged us to become better and stronger. The war also shows how strong we are as a country united. American troops come together to be able to fight off the Korean attacks against American forces. This shows how we work together and for each other. Now, since the conflict between the United States and North Korea didn't come to an absolute ending, we never know when they will try an attack. But since the army is advanced, we will be able to tell when something dangerous is coming our way in a short amount of time and be able to stop it. In other words, North Korea basically prepared us for their own attack. So thanks to them, we now have a way to keep our country safe. This has helped prove my point of breaking a barrier in history. We will always be known to have one of the most advanced armies in the world. And we always will be.